Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Align Plans. Today we're talking about something that I know it's probably going to be on most of your minds, and that is what is something that we should actually do before we lock in our 2026 lineup. So I know that most of you are probably at a point where you're doing all your shopping and looking for all the deals for your planner lineup, for your stationery, for your journaling. And while I'm so here for it, but I'm going to walk you through 5 things that you should consider before you actually lock all of that in. So if you haven't fully decided on what to do for your 2026 lineup just yet, make sure that you watch this video and let's just get started. And by the way, if we have never met, my name is Meshi and I'm the person behind Align Plans, and we chat a few times a week on this channel. And we're all about minimalist planning, journaling, planning, all of the things, all of the Japanese stationery. And we kind of talk about these things with intention. The idea behind this channel is to use the tools that we have with intention and use them in a way that they actually serve a purpose rather than just constantly over-consuming. So if that's your vibe, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't had a chance to just yet. All right, let's just begin with tip number 1. And first things first, before you do anything else, I want you to kind of take a look at your current stash, hoard your stash, take a look and see, not just reflect, but start with the actual reflection. Take a look at your pages. Take a look at what is working. Take a look at what is working, what is not working. I can tell you right now. So if I'm being really honest with myself and I look at like a Hibino would be a perfect example of this. If I look at what's working, I love these spreads. I love the spreads that I make when I'm actually journaling within this. And then I hate the fact when there's like stacks of pages that are completely blank. And it's not because I have this guilt trip around it, but because I know that I'm not utilizing it. I'm not checking in with it daily. And I've done this in May. I would come back a little bit and then I have like a blank pages. And the thing is, yes, I can repurpose these pages for something else. That's very true. But the thing is that this is not so much of a guilt trip as it is feedback. If I'm looking at what's happening with my Take a Note is actually working really well, except some weeks I'm absolutely not touching it, like back in June. And yes, we can say that maybe that was the chapter that I was in and maybe I really didn't have the time, or I didn't make the time, or summer schedules just tend to be a little bit different. But then when I'm moving into the fall and that still consistently stays blank, so if I'm looking at what's happening between September was actually a much better month for me. Moving into October, and if in October I had maybe 1 week filled out and 1 partial week filled out and then nothing for Halloween, and then moving into November, we haven't even like sniffed into November, that again tells me that I'm either not making time for it, or it just tells me that maybe the way that I intended to use this planner or this journal is just not really working for me. And that's just on the journaling side. If I'm looking at the same thing within planners. Oh, and by the way, if you're finding this video helpful and useful, make sure that you subscribe to the channel right here if you haven't had a chance to just yet. I would love to have you in the community, and we chat at least a couple of times a week here. We're talking about anything and everything, minimalist planning, journaling, planning, stationery, utilizing all of these tools with intention in a way that it actually enhances your life rather than just overconsume it. So if that's your vibe, please make sure that you subscribe. Back to the video. You would think I would find it, right? So I know that I needed to make some tweaks within the traveler's notebook for this to be as functional as it is right now, the way that I understand the system today. So if I'm looking at what I've added and why it works the way that it works right now, it's because the weekly is working really well and I'm consistent with it and I'm utilizing it for the way that I intended it. So this is actually this current week. And then me adding this diary has been just such a lifesaver because it allows me to actually do a little bit more longer format planning without overcrowding this with anything else. So for now, those are the 2 that are in here, but we're going to go through like in a separate video, obviously, what's working, what's not working, and how I'm planning on making changes. But my point is, point number 1 is make sure that you kind of review your stash and see what is actually working. Pull out the pages and rip it apart to see what was actually working for you and what wasn't. Tip number 2 is take a look at if you're entering into a different stage in your life. If your lifestyle has changed, check for life shifts. What does that look like? Check and see if moving into 2026, if things are going to be fundamentally changing, because if they are, maybe your current setup, your current lineup, the current things that you have chosen might not be accurate anymore. It might not actually work for you. And it has very little to do with the functionality of the planner. And it has everything to do with your current needs are shifting and changing. I'll give you an example. And it might just seem like I was doing this shift because I know some of you might look at it like, why did you get this? But I'm going to just talk about the plotter for just a moment, and not because I'm changing systems per se, but because it's serving a very specific purpose. And I have tried to make things work with, like I would get like astrology, or I would get like some of the smaller notebooks as like this on-the-go brain. I really did try to make things work with what you can get from field notes. I thought that field notes would be my absolute on-the-go brain, essentially. Like what could go wrong, right? You have like the small little cute little notebook in hard cardstock. You have like extra accessories that you can get for it that are actually functional. You have like a grid notebook that really stands the test of time with, like a full breakdown of what you can use it for. Why would that not be as functional? Like, why would I need to switch from this inexpensive little booklet into an actual planner ring bound setup that really seems to be answering most of my questions? And the reason for that is because what this gives me is truly an on-the-go brain. It truly is like an on-the-go brain dump for me. And I can prove it to you because sometimes I would have ideas of how to create like a full color coding system. Sometimes I would just have a quote and I would jot it down. Sometimes I would have things that I want to do a Google search on that might not necessarily need to make it into my planner, but it definitely needs to make it onto paper so that I capture it. The other thing is that it truly becomes a space for brain dump. It's not necessarily a space for me to add extra decoration. Like the only thing I've added really here was mainly just some dot stickers, but yet it's slim enough and sort of practical enough that it can come along with me and it can serve the purpose that I'm hoping for. Sort of to a point actually where I need to add actually more inserts and then take them out because I didn't realize I didn't add enough in there, which is like definitely a fantastic problem, by the way. I still do have some more like lined pages here where I can kind of capture more stream of consciousness ideas, but I don't necessarily want to look at stream of consciousness ideas that would relate to, oh, it's more journaling and it's more processing your emotions. Not necessarily. Sometimes I have an idea or like a spark and I need to like kind of run with it so that it kind of finishes its cycle, if you know what I mean. So having an outlet for that and letting it be as slim and as portable as this is, that has been like a really, really amazing thing. So that's my point on just kind of take a look and see what's happening. If things are about to change within your life, if things are going to be changing in your life where you need something that's going to be more portable, or if you're going to be shifting from being in the office to working from home more, your tools are going to have to shift with you. Number 3, and this will definitely speak to all of you that are highly reactive and don't want to miss out on pre-sales and early pre-orders and just social media hype in general. I do believe that we all fall victim to just kind of buying the things that are very time specific so that we don't miss out. I think that it's highly nuanced, right? I do think that you need to buy the things that if you already know what you're going to be buying, that this becomes a non-influence based purchase. However, if you're finding that year over year, you fall victim to being influenced or being inspired to change different systems, then that tells me that your current system might not be as solid as you think, or you're easily influenced to try something new, which will bring me to my next point as to like why that might be the case, but just leaving a little bit of breathing room and a little bit of space for you to allow yourself to change your mind, I think is so solid, because then for one, you're practicing discernment, you're practicing like creating space between the stimuli that comes in that inspires you to buy something new, and then how you're responding to it. And now we're responding rather than reacting to it. And also it really saves you from not just FOMO, like it saves you from like regret in like January. Because how many times have you seen influencers that start setting their things up in September, and then by January that system has done like a full 360 and then some, because they weren't actually going through this exercise of practicing discernment and figuring out really what their needs will be, or projecting potentially what their needs are going to be, but they're reacting to all of the influence that is coming in. Number 4. I also should mention that if you look back on this channel and you see almost like the very first video that I posted here, it was actually really similar to what we're talking about today, that said, do this before your 2020, I think it was like 2023 lineup or 2022 lineup. So it was like 4 years ago. And if you look back, one of the advice that I actually gave was to give yourself some patience and wait with setting everything up, like, and making a full decision of what you're going to be buying in September. Wait until October and November, when you have a little bit, when you've given yourself some time to kind of think it through, and then also you will have a better idea of what's coming up for you in the future or in the new year. Okay, moving on to number 4. Number 4 is please question, and this kind of leads back to my previous point, please question your cart. Question if we're buying this because we're reacting, or are we buying this because we actually need this? Do you know what I mean? So question your cart if this is just filling up a sense of boredom for you, if this is just bringing a sense of, I don't know, new vibrancy or like new life or into your planner lineup. Because keep in mind, like these tools, you're with them every day, right? And you also choose to neglect them or use them whenever you end up using them, right? So if you're finding that everything just feels stagnant and you're buying the same lineup because that's what you're used to, are we really buying them out of comfort, or are we having this desire for change because it's not functional, or are we changing because we're just bored, we just need something new? And I want to just say that there's no right or wrong answer. However, I will say this, that if you create a system that is really stagnant and it's not moving with you, then that might not be the right system anymore. Do you know what I mean? Just keep in mind also, while you're being heavily influenced on TikTok and maybe on YouTube, there is no such thing, and I'm saying this with such a caveat, but there's no such thing as a planner must-haves. If it's named that way, it's more just for you to kind of find things easier on the internet. But at the end of the day, for planning, you need paper and pen. Point blank period, you know? So if you're finding that, oh no, but I need to buy, you know, like the special edition pen, and then the clip, and then I need to get like the little charm that will kind of speak to my 2026 aesthetic and what I'm channeling. And listen, nothing wrong with that. Please buy the thing that you want to buy, but just don't name them must-haves. That's basically all I'm saying. Know when have enough awareness around when you're being influenced and you're choosing to give into that, because there's nothing wrong with giving into what you're being influenced by if it actually matches your needs or your desires with what you're buying, right? Like, so I don't want you to ever have like this side order of guilt attached to, you know, why did I buy this? Well, you bought it because you love it, and there's nothing wrong with that, but just don't name that a must-have, because for must-haves to really happen, you basically need a planner, here you go, and you need a pen. And whether it's a fountain pen or it's a, you know, just a regular old gel pen or a ballpoint pen or a pencil, it doesn't really matter. It matters in a sense that it changes your experience. Yes, it matters in that sense, but it does not matter as far as can you get your planning done with a piece of paper and and pen, yes, you 100% can. So that's sort of where the differentiation, and like I said, it's highly nuanced because we're being influenced to gravitate towards certain systems and towards certain planners and like the way that they're structured, but it's not like a mandatory entry to planning itself. So hopefully that makes sense. And last but not least, my final point, your planner needs to serve you. And again, I feel like this kind of connects to my previous point. I feel like, okay, I might get some heat for this, I might not, but and I'm just going to speak to this because Hobonichi does this really well, but also Cloth and Paper does this really well as well. So it's not just like the book-bound systems that have like that cult following. I do think that, you know, the minimalist planning systems 100% do this, where you just feel like, oh my God, I'm so obsessed and I need this. And you get heavily influenced to buy the thing. And when you're trying to apply that to your current system or to your life, it does not work. And it's not because the tool is bad or because you're doing it wrong, but because there isn't cohesion between the two. So your planner systems, when you're building up whatever you need for 2026, 100% needs to be looked at as a functional tool of how that serves you. Okay, so I'll demonstrate that in like 1 second. I can buy this because I love orange and this is great, but if this is not serving my actual needs and I'm not reaching for this, then this does not work for me. It's just that simple. If I'm reaching for this every single day and I miss it when it's not here and I'm referring back to it and I'm adding notes in there and I'm checking things off and it becomes like this nice little workhorse that really just collects all of my ideas on the go, 100% this becomes the absolute best tool for me for what I'm looking for. But again, keep in mind, I'm matching the tool to my personal needs. Here, matching the tool of how I plan, how I see my weeks, what I want to capture, how much information I want to dump in here, the aesthetic I'm after. I'm matching this to what my needs are. I'm not making this work for me or bending in a way that it fits an aesthetic of a traveler's notebook. I'm making this work so that when I'm looking at this, is there cohesion? Is there clarity? Is there, do I walk away feeling more at ease? Did I reduce decision fatigue? If the answer to any of that is a yes, then I've done my job. I've done a great job of utilizing this as a cohesive tool to fit into my life. And I think that once we start looking at all of these planners, from that lens of allow these tools to actually help you function a little bit better versus I'm chasing the aesthetic of what this represents. And if I don't fit into that, I'm not doing it correctly. And I think that when you're chasing aesthetics, I feel like it's almost like you're trying to wear someone else's style and then you're upset that your unique style is yours. You know what I mean? So that's basically it. This is basically all I wanted to share with you guys. I hope that you have found this helpful and useful. If you did, you already know what to do. You can give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to the channel if you haven't had a chance to just yet. And first, before I let you go, here is your question of the day. Please share one thing that you have done or that you have applied to your life that is very relevant that you're doing before your 2026 lineup is fully locked in. Share in the comments below. Let's all learn from each other. And in the meanwhile, just keep planning, keep journaling, keep doing all of the things. And I cannot wait to see you guys in my next video. Bye.